So again, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. If you joined us since we began, Shabbat Shalom again to those who are joining us from home. And if you ever need to feel appreciated, and don't we all, I really suggest that next summer, at least, you spend a half hour reading with our Wise Readers to Leaders students. Today was their last day, so as I said, you'll have to wait for next year, but let me tell you, it was a delight. They start every morning with songs to get pumped up. They sing to sit down, they sing to stand up, and then after you read to them, they sing their appreciation to you. It really is such a good feeling. They are excited, and their counselors are keeping their excitement up. And these college students do a really incredible job of holding up students who, during the year, may not get that sort of hype and encouragement. I don't always get that sort of hype and encouragement, so I'm going to keep going back. So in one of the songs that they sang this year, it was one I hadn't heard before. And they make them up, I think, each summer. In this one, there was one that they suggested quite forcefully that everyone grab a book, which I suppose makes sense for a summer literacy program. But the piece that has stuck with me since my reading is this one line they repeated. They said, yesterday, tomorrow, I'm gonna read today. And I looked at these 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-olds who are spending their summer practicing and getting better. And I thought to myself, for some of these kids, I bet yesterday was really hard. They stumbled over words. They felt like they couldn't get it, right? We've all been there. And of course, for any of us, who knows what tomorrow brings? And so they said, yesterday, tomorrow, I'm going to read today. So when I teach about the Jewish calendar, especially to students who are just encountering Judaism, I often talk about the way our holidays layer meaning. All of our festivals and many of our other holidays, I explain, have an agricultural layer. They are often tied to the moon or the sun and the harvest schedule. And all of our festivals and most of our holidays also have a historical layer. Many are tied somehow to the Exodus from Egypt and its aftermath, or some have other historical events of significance. And then all of our festivals and most of our holidays look forward. They have somewhere within either their liturgy or their celebration, they have a message and a hope and a vision for a world we do not yet know. As I said at the beginning, today was Rosh Chodesh Av, the first day of the month of Av. So on the Jewish calendar, we are squarely Bein HaMitzarim, in between the narrow place, in the straits, in these 3 weeks between the 17th of Tammuz, which was, and Tisha B'Av. According to the legends, right, the walls of Jerusalem were breached on the 17th of Tammuz, but the temple, as of now, still stands. And each year, for us here in America especially, though certainly in Israel as well, the month of Av begins in the thick of summer, right? It's in the midst of vacation days and these long, languid nights. And so always there's this incongruity to Av, both its placement on the calendar and its emotions. And I always think about that tension on Rosh Chodesh Av especially, right? Because when Rosh Chodesh starts, we sing songs of Hallel and we honor the potential of this new month. Even as we know, spoiler alert, that destruction and loss loom ahead. So I think that Rosh Chodesh Av asks us, just maybe like that little song, to hold yesterday, today, and tomorrow all in one day, with all of those regrets and hopes and pains and joys and losses and possibilities. And as this new month begins, again, vagaries of the calendar, we're also coming to the end of the book of Numbers. And when we open the Torah tomorrow, we come upon God's travelogue, this sort of seemingly endless listing of all the stops the Israelites made in the desert. A reminder, if ever there was one, that the journey from point A to point B is rarely a linear one. There's a commentary written by the grandson of the Baal Shem Tov called the Degel Machane Ephraim. And he writes that the 42 journeys of the Israelites are to be found in each and every one of us, from the day of our birth until he returned to our world. Each person's birth should be understood within the context of the Exodus from Egypt, right? That's a moment of birth. And the subsequent stages of life are journeys that lead from place to place until one comes to his language, perhaps more flowery, till one comes to the land of the supernal world of life. Or in words that my colleagues know are some of my favorites from our High Holy Day Machzor, birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a going, a growing, stage to stage. And of these stages, Rabbi Stephen Kushner teaches that what might seem to one of us as a lack of change is actually a profoundly more subtle stage of spiritual growth. The times in our lives that feel wrong might very well be precisely what God intends, because we're being led on a journey, whether we know it or not. And what feels painful might very well be just what we need if, that is, we hope to get to the other side of Midbar, of wilderness. So this summation, these 42 stops, they are a reminder of where we've been, right? They are yesterday, but they're also a trajectory. They're a reminder of how far we've come, where we are today, and where we have yet to go tomorrow. So next Saturday night, Jewish communities will gather all over the world in mourning. We mourn because our teaching says that on the 9th of Av, it was decreed upon our ancestors that they would all die in the wilderness and not enter Eretz Yisrael. The temple was destroyed the first time in the days of Nebuchadnezzar, and the second time by the Romans, and Beitar was captured in the days of Rabbi Akiva, and the city of Jerusalem was plowed, destroyed. And over the years, history has helped us add layers to those destructive moments. We've added history and we've added tears. And each year, I think that we sit and reflect not only on those historical moments of sadness, but also on our own, our national, communal, and even our personal pain points. Tisha B'Av is a container in which we hold the past but sit in the present. But even Tisha B'Av, with all of its sadness, it has to come to an end. There is the 10th of Av, and then there is the next day. Because here's the thing about our calendar, our holidays, our tradition, we do love the past. Memory is sacred in Jewish life, but it's not static. And the future? As a people, we are invested in the long game. Torah begins with promises made to Abraham that for which we still wait for fulfillment today. As I said, this Shabbat, we come to the end of the book of Numbers, a book that details a 40-year adventure that could, by God's own admission, have taken significantly less time. And there is a statement we don't say often, but one of the most traditional theological statements of our tradition says, I believe with perfect faith in the coming of the Messiah. Even though he might be taking his time, I still believe. We are predicated, I think, on the promise that we may not see tomorrow, but we know it's there. So today is Rosh Chodesh Av. We know that Tisha B'Av is coming, but we know the day after it will come as well. We don't know where they'll lead us or what they will bring, but we have today. Today is when we plant the seeds and when we hope and dream, when we dwell in possibility and in probability. Today is when we begin to build. Yesterday, tomorrow, I'm going to build today. Shabbat Shalom and Chodesh Tov.